How do everybody? I just want to talk about the sentencing of the Nottingham murderer who has just recently, in the last few days, been sentenced. I didn't want to discuss it when it immediately happened. I thought a bit more might come out, and I believe I've been proven correct in just holding back a little bit. So, anyway, last year on June 13th, the entire country was shocked to hear about the frenzied attack in Nottingham during the early hours of the morning. This gruesome attack, which was carried out by the paranoid schizophrenic Valdo Calocane, resulted in the deaths of Barnaby Webber, Grace O'Malley Kumar, and Ian Coates. By June 15th, the government nudge unit, and for those of you who don't know, the nudge unit is a government-backed think tank. I don't think it is actually fully governmental. I think it's more of a quango, but it is involved in the government. It's designed to use subliminal and subversive tactics to get the population to behave in a particular manner without outright saying what they want their end results to be. They also use tactics like the Manchester Arena bombing with the whole be kind thing, where all the bees were everywhere and you end up with bumper stickers and all that. That was the nudge unit. Now, this unit as well is full of psychologists, and last I checked, it was headed by a lady called Susan Mitchie, and she is a card-carrying, dyed-in-the-wool communist and has been for multiple decades. But anyway, by June 15th, the government had organised a propaganda event and had given the families of the victims scripts to read, and were used, in my opinion, as tools to try and calm down wider society. And these people were brought out and spoke on national television with all the similar sort of quotes as like "Be kind," "Nottingham together," I think was the quote for that one. It was due. They've got plans for all cities, by the way, across the country for if there's going to be various terrorist attacks or large scale outbreakings of violence or whatever. They've already got these events pre-planned. So it was during this last year that the government allowed in 1.6 million migrants gross, and over 40,000 arrived on boats. So it's no surprise that they were trying to keep people calm, because we were all rather upset with the mass migration happening. And they were lying to us about the 1.6 million people at that time as well. We could see with our own eyes that the actual country was filling up. You could see the roads were getting busier. You could see lines at the hospitals were getting longer, and various other things. And they were lying to our faces about it. Never ever forget that. That's why I always say, don't listen to what they say, look at what they do. So in my opinion, these families were used to try and make us forget what the consequences of mass migration are. And that man and his attack is a consequence of mass immigration, whether people like that or not. These families even falsely believe that, and I quote, "I know he will receive the retribution that he deserves." One of the family members said that on national live broadcast. And why wouldn't they have believed that was going to be the fact? Because why would the government lie to you? Why would the Crown prosecution lie to you? Why would the courts lie to you? Unfortunately, these people have learned a valuable lesson, a very, very hard lesson at that as well. Well, fast forward 7 months, and we have expectations versus reality. The families don't even have the dignity of a murder charge. Never mind the fact that the court never gave a murder verdict. The Crown prosecution didn't even bother pursuing it either. And to top it off, the families weren't consulted. They were told when the family met with the CPS on November 24th. And that was the first time, I believe, that they met with the Crown Prosecution Service. 5.5 months. So in the previous 5.5 months, the families were given absolutely zero indication that anything other than a murder charge would be served. So up until November 24th, those people were just thinking, at least we're going to get a murder charge here. At least this man's going to get sentenced for murder. Now, why has this happened? Without having privileged access to speak with those directly involved in the case, i.e. the Crown Prosecution Service, the judge, the court clerks, people like that, I can only speculate. What my gut is telling me is it's to do with crime statistics and trying to keep the diversity quota down in regards to statistics and overrepresentation of certain communities, especially in murder. The man is most likely never going to walk in public again. So on paper, the end result is absolutely the same as if he had got charged with murder. So people might say, well, why does it matter? Well, it matters to the families. And it matters because the public are being lied to and were being gaslit, because that man premeditated what he was doing. He hid in dark corners and he stalked people. He knew exactly what he was doing. And yes, he may be a paranoid schizophrenic, but it was murder, and it matters. But the punishment. But from a crime and punishment point of view, where certain groups are disproportionately overrepresented, having a policy where you can change murder to manslaughter is very useful when the political system is obsessed with controlling the narrative. And I do stand by that because we see it all the time. It's like everybody notices the adverts on telly. I mean, I don't watch telly anymore. The only time I see telly is when I happen to be walking past somebody's telly and it's on. And even I noticed the, black husband, white wife, and the Chinese and Indian children. It's so weird that every single family is mixed race. And that hasn't come about because the advertising companies have decided to do that. That has come about because the government is telling them to do that. Well, the government directly, it's government Quango groups like Ofcom telling them to do that. Same with even like if you're listening to the radio, a radio broadcast show, they'll have black actors in, but they'll have them where they're black because they pick people with particular accents, modern urban accents, not English accents, urban accents. Or you'll be seeing like, I don't know, I think it was Channel 5 did a Henry VIII show where they had Anne Boleyn and Anne Boleyn was black as another example. We're seeing this all the time. And that's happening because the government are pushing it. And even like with the National Trust, everything's about slavery. All the buildings are slavery. Everything's slavery. It's all being pushed. It's all part of that narrative. So in order to try and manipulate the narrative, I do believe that they are trying to tweak certain outcomes on cases. Although the sentencing will be the same, on paper, it looks better from a narrative point of view. As I say, manslaughter doesn't look as bad as murder because it's normally murder statistics that get spoken about. So my final point on this as well is it also highlights the need to allow people to have access to firearms for self-defense. One of them, or maybe even all three, might be alive now if they had had access to firearms. And I know what anti-firearms people would say right now. Well, if we all had access to firearms, he could have had access to firearms and he could have shot him. Well, my response to that is those people died anyway. So what would those people being armed have done badly for them? They may very well have still have died, but they would have at least had the ability to defend themselves from that man. Now, he's gone out with a knife. Carrying a knife around for no reason is against the law. You can't just walk around with a knife. But guess what? He walked around with a knife. He didn't care. Criminals don't care. They will carry around implements of death. They are not bothered. The only people who don't carry around tools for killing other human beings are law-abiding citizens, and that makes you vulnerable to people like him. So by allowing the citizenry the opportunity to carry a weapon to defend themselves, you stop criminalising good people. And this is the problem with it. And it's the do-gooders who are allowing these decent people to die because, what if? Well, you know what? What if isn't an argument. Judge people on their actions. It's not for you to deny other human beings the right to defend themselves adequately. Anyway, that is an argument that really winds me up. But I'm going to leave it at that. That's enough for today. If you've found that interesting, informative, you've liked it, whatever, please like, subscribe. Definitely please put comments below. I love reading people's comments, and I do always try to get back to as many as I can. Even if you disagree with me and your comments are disagreeing with me, I am definitely open to changing my mind if your arguments are strong enough, and I won't just discard everything you say if you do disagree with me. So anyway, thanks for your time. Goodbye.